Hi everyone, it's Jamila here from this week's podcast, just checking in and introducing myself. I'm from Sussex Innovation, and this week on 100 Stories, I'm interviewing my colleague Marley. We talk about his experiences growing up in London, both of our school experiences, touring scheme that he set up, and the current climate. Hi guys, welcome to 100 Stories. My name is Jamila and I work at Sussex Innovation. And today I'm going to be interviewing my colleague Marley. Yeah, introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Hi all. I'm also at Sussex Innovation on my placement year. So in the third year, I have a 3-year degree course. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of currently doing.
How are you? How is life?
But I can't really complain. I know like the world is pretty crazy. Like the whole of 2020 has just been a very strange year, but like life is quite good for myself. Thank God. Yeah.
Obviously, today we're here to kind of talk about your experiences in life. We want to hear your story. Um, so probably a good place to start is like, where are you from? What was your childhood like? Tell us about your parents, your family.
Yeah. Where are you from is like such a weird question because like when people ask, you're like,
It is.
do you mean like the area I live in or do you mean like my racial makeup? But
Literally.
yeah. um like I'm British, like I was born in like and raised in Southeast London in the borough of Greenwich in a place called Woolwich. My my parents' racial makeup is that my dad's from Tanzania and Kenya and my mom is English. So that's kind of like I'm a bit mixed heritage. Like I don't know if you can see via Zoom, but yeah. And just in terms of like upbringing and like the surrounding area I grew up in, it was quite interesting. Like very heavily working class area in a council estate. Childhood was great. Like there was no worries. Everyone in the community. It used to be a bit more heavily community based.
Mm.
So there was a strong sense of community from doing things like there's a football cage, like concrete football cage, about 30 seconds from my house, like literally just I can see it from my bedroom view. And in summer, up until everyone turned about, I'd say, I'd say up until maybe 2012, 2013, so I was about 12, 13, a couple older boys, a couple people my age. In the summertime on the weekends, there would be up to like, no exaggeration, 50 people in a cage it's a 3v3 or 4v4 cage, and people just wait, and it'll be like the first two goals, and the next team is on. And like if your team stayed on for like an hour plus, like you just felt good the rest of the day. We'd do things like torture runouts, where like essentially it's 10v10, and the 10 people
What
would make
is
like
torture? That sounds so dangerous.
it was slightly dangerous, but it was character building, where there would be like 20 of us from like the age of 9 till 14, 15. And yeah, one team would come up with a word or a phrase. So it could be like, say, if it was 6-letter words, it could be Marley. That's the word they have to try and get. And you would run around the whole estate and like just keep running and running. And when the team who's chasing have got you, they would essentially like take the word out of you, if that makes sense. Like get your individual letter, then then we'd all meet up at like the cage. Once you've been like found or your letter's been given, you just go to the cage, and then when they've kind of got an idea of what the word is, they can like guess it and say it, and then you switch around. But it was like it was tough love, but it was very interesting. And when I think about it, like looking back now, it was just like it was something that bonded a lot of us together. Like even the older ones, like when they see the young ones now, there's that kind of brotherhood, strong relationship, and it was just fun times. We had no stress. We didn't know about any type of issues in society, and it was just yeah, fun.
A very naive period of time. Kind of miss it. I do miss that element of childhood where you could literally just like meet around them and be just become best friends or like have the best day ever. Was it quite multiracial when you were growing up? Like was it like predominantly black or mixed race or white? Was it quite a mix?
I'd say like my area is like what I think of when I think of what London is. So like in London, I believe people who are from different ethnic groups to white British make up 45% of London. Then white British is about half of London, just over half. And it's like my area, but a bit more of even more diversity. There's so many people from the continent of Asia, and that's like people of Indian origin, people of Chinese origin, and then there's also many different people from Africa, from Nigeria, Ghana, and there's a lot of mixed people, a lot of white British people, and yeah, like growing up, you're very naive, and I hate the terminology, but when you're young, I feel like there's a greater chance of you actually being this, and it's a term like colorblind. I'd say like until about 10ish, you don't like you literally just play with people for them essentially for them being cool or for them just adding value to your life or them just being someone you can meet up with because you can quickly tell your mom like, hey, like person comes to knock at your door and you're like, mom, he's at the door, da, da, da. You've already pre-planned it. And I don't feel like the term colorblind helps with any type of racial issues, but when you're young, I feel like you genuinely are. And it's just a naive mentality that you have as a child. You just play with people for the sake of them being your friend or for them adding value to your everyday life. And if anything, like you recognize more, maybe you just grow up in the same area together, and that's why you should be cool, not because of any other dynamics in society. So yeah, them times are great until you get hit with the real world.
Better times, honestly. I think growing up was probably like the biggest scam because realistically, when you start realizing more about the world, you're just like, oh my goodness. Took those days for granted, being completely oblivious to it because it just, you're 5 years old. But I mean, I'm interested to kind of hear about your school journey. How was school for you? Was it a good experience, a bad experience?
Um, Secondary school was something I took for granted because it was the most amazing period of life. Like, and I think of it like every single day you go see like the best people in your life. Um, you literally just enjoy every single day, even if you don't claim to kind of enjoy education or be the most academic person. You just enjoy the vibes, PE. There's lessons like product design. I was kind of an all-rounder. Like I didn't mind every subject in its own way, but you'd have so many different friends and like even people in your class you would just sit next to. And my school was based in a very working class area as well, just going through a lot of gentrification now. But like 42% of the people at my school were eligible for free school meals, which is like four
Oh, that's
times the
cool.
national average.
Yeah, that's pretty high.
You would literally not even know who was like on free school meals, who wasn't. Like people just generally didn't care, which was a great thing growing up. Because a lot of people, like even myself at times, I had like the mentality that like, oh, I don't want to like get lunch for free just in case people realize because of like the idea of bullying. But the way I was set up or the way I knew a lot of people in school, I was like, okay, this is free food. Like I don't really care. It's not like that. Yeah, secondary school was cool, like playing for the school football team, like and not playing as in like on the bench, like a heavy starter. And yeah, that just made school even greater, kind of like recognized as like academically gifted, kind of put a little bit more pressure, but like it wasn't too heavy because I was just doing up enjoyment essentially. But but yeah, secondary school it was literally what I think back like now, like science lessons and like when you do experiments, that's like memories you can't replace. Like
It was much better times, I have to say. It's just it feels like a lifetime away now. Did you ever have any kind of issues or confusion to do with your race whilst you were growing up and going through school?
there was a few incidents. Like my school was in Eltham, which is like it's historically quite a racist borough. Like evidently, with the murder of Stephen Lawrence, I'm pretty sure like everyone know that happened literally on my way. So like I would have to go past Well Hall, the 122 bus stop where it happened. Like every single day, my bus would go past there. It was about 10 minutes away from my school if that. So like there is quite a racist undertone in Eltham. Like kind of one time when me and some friends were going to football, I went to McDonald's quick to go grab a burger while they was at the bus stop because we had a few minutes. And I came back and like they looked like quite distressed and they just explained like someone drove past in a car and like tried to spit at them and shout out the N word. And this was when we was
Oh
like
my god,
14. And then like
that's
actually
so
in
bad.
school, I know, but it's like such a usual, like not a usual thing, but like in Elton, that's something you would expect to happen. It's bad. And then like in secondary school, like more maybe possibly Islamophobia. Like some of the boys are like heavily working class white boys who may have had some elements of their socialization, primary socialization, be wrong, like parental kind of upbringing and like things that parents could have said. So like there's like a few people that just like said certain things about a good amount of people who identified as Muslim, and they'll
Mm.
just be saying unnecessary stuff that just like wasn't on, like things you can't say, and they didn't really get in the most trouble. They're very patriotic, which is obviously, of course, it's great to love your country, and I agree with loving your country, but it's also okay to recognize the things not so good in your country.
Mm. And it shouldn't
And
be kind of at the cost of someone else's experiences. Like you loving your country shouldn't then kind of bear negatively on other people. And I think that's kind of an issue that a lot of ethnic minorities do face in England at the moment.
and then even like it wasn't directly me, but like friends, there's like incidents where a group of friends have been on a trip and they've been a little bit foolish and they're throwing around Skittles on the coach, which is like a young working class or even just a young boy thing to do.
Yeah, just having a
Um,
bit of fun though, isn't it?
yeah, and they like nearly got permanently excluded. But like in the same academic year, a group of boys who were of a different ethnic group, so these white boys essentially, they was in Spain, they kind of beat up another group of white boys from the school. Yeah, yeah, I know, crazy. The teachers even knew, and then
Oh God.
they got they got to either the airport or they got to the station back in London, and they ran away. Yeah, they ran away from their teachers, and they got like 2 days in exclusion, so they're like internally excluded, whereas the group of black boys from Skittles were like 5 days externally excluded. And
It's
then like
crazy.
once, like I remember learning in sociology, one of the boys was in the same class as me, one of the black boys who nearly got
Mm.
permanent, and we was in sociology, and we was like sitting right next to each other, and like we was learning about the hidden exclusion around young black boys in London specifically, but in the UK in general as well.
That's a
And
deeper subject.
yeah, we was learning about it
Wow.
like 2 years later, and he was just like, oh, he's like, remember this incident? He's like, look, like this is like real life example because schools often don't tend to actually put it on the record when they exclude young black boys, and it's like often to do with like how the teachers view them, teachers kind of
Mm. That
being
like
a
unconscious bias.
exactly
Mm.
that. Yeah, it was just interesting to kind of learn that like there's actual studies and there's actual sociologists who dedicate their lives to at least making us all recognize and hopefully try like prevent these unconscious biases and such incidents from happening.
Mm, absolutely. So what did you take at A level? Was that sociology?
Yeah,
I'm
sociology.
assuming.
Yeah,
And what else did you take like, in terms of A levels and like deciding to come to Sussex Uni and
it was quite cool. Like I did business, economics, sociology, and geography during my AS level. I was actually doing psychology, but I dropped out because the
yeah,
people
that
in
was
our
a
class,
crazy time.
yeah, they just wasn't good for me.
Yeah.
So I picked up geography, considering I'd never ever done geography in my life, like 2 months in, and I ended up like flopping AS level. Like I got like a C, C, D, D, something along that. And I was
Hmm.
just like, wow, like this is not my destiny. Like this is not how it's supposed to be for me. And that's not like on any type of arrogance, but just because like I knew that I had a bit more of an academic gift in achieving that.
Mm.
So I put in so much work in second year to the point where like when everyone was chilling in the sixth form area and just having fun and banter, like I'll be on my one. I even picked up the EPQ. I sometimes wish
Wow.
yeah, I wish I did it sometimes because I could have got more A's, but it was I did it on the death penalty and if it should be reintroduced to the UK. But
What?
I came to the conclusion that it shouldn't be reintroduced
Oh,
anymore.
yeah.
It was just interesting to use like America as a case study, look at the history of it when it was abolished, kind of who suffered the most, and yeah, it was good. And then I ended up getting an A in sociology, and then B in economics and business. The economics B felt like A star because that subject is crazy, and then a B in the EPQ, so A and three Bs.
Yeah, congratulations. You must work
Thank
so
you.
hard for that because A levels are, oh, it's just probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my whole entire life. Like, I don't think people really realize like actually how hard it is because it's so much knowledge and information that you have to retain and then regurgitate to like a really, really high level. On the day of my last exam, I just came home and just went to sleep. I wasn't even gassed. I was just like, I need rest now. Like that was far too much for me to ever handle ever again. But it's crazy because I don't know about you, but I feel like uni's like easier. And how's your kind of uni experience been in comparison to school in
Um,
terms of academics and just general life?
I'd say academics, like I really enjoy uni because it's like I feel like uni I've taken uni as what I really wanted it to be, which is like as well as a space to kind of gain knowledge and expertise in the area of business and management, it's more about it's a time period where I'm able to like see what I enjoy, kind of try some new things, try some things, fail some things, do some things well, work some different like part-time jobs, gain skills, gain
Mm,
connections, and like I think of like some of the experiences I've had. I did an internship at Citibank, and I was just like, this is like an amazing opportunity, but like the role that I did as a business analysis isn't for me going forward. Like maybe possibly
mm,
something in HR and development of like teams and retaining staff and low absentees, something along that line and motivating the workforce could be, but that specifically wasn't. And
mm,
then I did a home office internship for first generation students and students who are from disadvantaged backgrounds. And that was like, it was difficult because it was during coronavirus lockdown and we couldn't go in the office. But it was like, I did a lot of work around like diversity and making more, making schemes available to members of staff so we can increase the amount of people within the higher roles within the home office. And I was like, that kind of HR work is something that could potentially be something that I enjoy. And then like now I'm on placement year at Sussex Innovation and I'm
mm,
doing like everything business related. I'm just like seeing, okay, marketing is quite an interest in me and I enjoy marketing and working on social media. Whereas something and market research, I'm kind of interested in how to condense information and make it useful for someone reading or writing. I enjoy that. And then there's other elements where I'm like, okay, this is not really my strong point or this is not really something I want to focus on later on in life. And then at uni as well, things like being a volunteer for the body scheme is
mm.
amazing, like supporting students, gaining them
What does that
interpersonal
entail
skills.
actually?
It's just like providing support to students who either they are international students and they're trying to get into university and like understand the way the UK universities work, or if it's just students who just want an opportunity to socialize with other students and meet new people. And yeah, it was great being the ambassador for the business school for that. And that role was very rewarding. And then some part-time jobs I've done at uni in the career center with the academic skills team who are doing great now, or like even just working in retail whilst at uni is like it's been so useful to kind of develop skills that I can use in a few years' time. So I'm
Mm,
kind of just finding it's like finding yourself. I feel like university should be, and I've
100%.
done that okay.
What made you choose Sussex out of interest? Did you know kind of when you started your A levels that you wanted to come to Sussex and do business management?
Sussex, what interests me was the study abroad thing. So
Mm.
first year I got to go to Singapore and study at Nanyang Technological University, which is like
Wow.
top
How was
15 in the
that?
world. It was it was just I can't explain it. You just have to go to Singapore and see how it's just like the best country ever. And like studying entrepreneurship there was great, but that's like I had my mind set on that. I had my mind set on trying start up Sussex a few times, which I have, and maybe my final year, who knows, you might see me on Sussex Innovation page because I'm one of the winners. But but yeah, I just knew Sussex provided a lot of things, like even placement scheme. They had so much going on, and I was just like, here I can just go be my authentic self, try a few things. But I only kind of Sussex came into my mind when a lot of teachers were downplaying the universities I could go to. I said I wanted to apply for like four ones that needed ABB plus, and a lot of my teachers weren't having it, even though some of them had faith in me. So I had to apply for like one or two that were ABB, and then the rest were lower. So Sussex was like one of the highest ones. I was gonna maybe try go through adjustment and end up going Warwick on results day
Mm.
because my grades. I was like Sussex when I came and visited. It was just nice, just a nice area near the sea. The campus is like amazing. Has a
It's
national
beautiful.
park, and the people. Like I knew it was quite diverse. Obviously not like a lot of unis are still kind of progressing with the amount of diversity they have. But Sussex just seemed like the place for me, and I was just like, a few of my older friends went there, and I was just like, I came and visited them like 1 or 2 times, and I was just like, this is
This
the
is
place for
it.
me. Yeah,
Yeah, it is such a beautiful campus and like such a beautiful place to be, especially in the summer. And I think,
yeah.
as you were saying, like even in regards to the people, it's such a interesting mix and like in such a good way as well, because they definitely make efforts to really, make sure that you don't feel like you don't have the same opportunities as others, like you mentioned with the first generation scholar scheme, which I know some people do feel like that when they come from maybe a more disadvantaged background. They really do make the efforts to make you feel like no, you can have the same opportunities as everyone else, which is amazing. You mentioned a bit briefly earlier, I think from school, and you started doing mentoring with the buddy scheme. But
Yeah.
I know that you've got your own mentoring scheme that you set up with a few friends. So if you want to talk to us about that, I'm quite interested.
That idea kind of came about, I think, when I watched something on BBC, and it was about bridging the gap between working class and middle class university students.
Mm.
And it was like working class students who achieve a first. So say let's just put an example. Me and you, Jamila, we both go to Sussex Uni. Your background is middle class, and you achieve a 2-2 at uni, which is a whole 2 grades lower than me, who achieves the first. Just because of your middle class status and like your upbringing and the skills and different things you develop kind of unconsciously over time, you're still more likely to get a grad role over me and earn more in life, which it kind of illustrates that society is not meritocratic,
Mm.
and we still have a long way to go, because that's just a crazy concept, because we're kind of taught that hard work breeds success and there's equal opportunities. So on paper, I should kind of get the job over you. And then I thought,
100%.
so I thought, what can I kind of do on my little part? And then I just thought of this scheme called the Inspire Project. And yeah, now it started off in the first year. There was me and 3 friends, and then there was 8 students. And we took them to places like Microsoft for Startups. Shout out to Marley, she's the managing director there, and she's just amazing. We took them to Octopus Investments. We did some actual in-school individual coaching, but we did like group workshops on things like kind of planning an event, because they was going to do that in the summer before Corona. We did stuff on why teamwork is important and the value you can get from it, kind of overcoming obstacles, networking. So it was like a range of soft skills and general life skills, as well as
Mm.
kind of providing them the opportunity to see places where they can go and work or be a member of, and then individual coaching just for kind of to gain that rapport and also just help them with any queries or general things they have going on in life. And then this year, my 3 friends, they're very busy. They're in final year now. So they've kind of like, I told them to just focus on university right now. And I got there's 7 plus me, so 8 of us now. I have 8 boys, which is it's a bit crazy when I go
God,
in.
yeah. How do you
I'm
manage that?
I don't know. But they're all great. And then there's 7 others who have 2 mentees each. So it's gone from like initially 4 of us and 8 people, 8 young ones, to about 8 of us and about early 20s, like 22, 23 young ones, which is like great, because it's only the second year and we're kind of still getting used to it and finding the best ways to kind of give sessions, whether it's individual or group. Now, because of like the pandemic, I'm kind of thinking of ways to get people into school to do like workshops. I have a few in mind. Some people who kind of run businesses or work in organizations that I feel like would be useful. So we're just adapting, but hopefully in the next year or two, we have it as a registered non-profit, and we get like the goal is to have, instead of 2 figures, like 20 young people being mentored, it goes to hundreds plus, and it's in like different Harrises or different schools within London. So that's the goal, but we're just starting off kind of.
Well, are you interested in going into social enterprise? Would you want to do this hopefully for the rest of your life, or is it something that you kind of hope to grow and then pass down onto maybe one of the younger ones that you're mentoring at the moment? Or have you even
I
thought about that?
Yeah, I would love the young ones who are being mentored now in 3 years to be mentors themselves. That's the goal, to create like a community. Yeah, to create a community in that sense. I kind of like I have thought about creating like social enterprises and that being like the career path that I go down. I think it's just dependent on a lot of things. but I'm just thinking more about impact rather than like measuring for now. So it's just like doing the groundwork rather than like in the future
Looking for the
possibly.
results.
Yeah, so that's really important. But hopefully, if I'm able to find a job in the future or jobs are more flexible and I work 3 or 4 days a week, I'd love to spend the rest of my time kind of doing work in terms of creating a social enterprise and going down that route. But whatever job role I do in life, I know that I will have a big impact in my own community and hopefully some other communities as well.
That's so exciting. Because how old are you? Like 20?
20, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like the amount that you've achieved already is crazy. Like you've been to Singapore. Some people haven't even left the country, and you've been to Singapore and you set up this social enterprise. Like that is the dream. But I mean, I want to talk about Tanzania as well, actually, because I know we've had little conversations about that before, and like your links to Tanzania. So if you want to talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, Tanzania was like interesting because I got tricked into a holiday when I was about 15, 16, and I like just got like excluded, like not permanently, but just got excluded from school for like something very foolish and like very minor, but I was just young and
What did you do?
we was we was on transport, TFL, we was on a bus and one of like my friends took a BB gun from like this kid who gave it to him. He came and like shot me like 4 times. So like I grabbed the gun, like I grabbed the BB gun and like I shot him back because it's just retaliation as a young person. And
Naturally.
yeah, and like toxic masculinity made me grab that gun and just shoot him back. But we got excluded for like 5 days and then like my parents weren't happy. Then my dad was just like, yeah, we're going to Tanzania summer holiday, da, da, da. And then like thought it was gonna be a shorter period of time, ended up being like the whole summer and 1 week before summer started. And like I came back 2 days before school started, so it was like 9 weeks. And I was just like, wow. I started off like slightly angry because I was there for so long, but then I loved it like differently. Like I've even contemplated after graduation, if I take a gap year, I'm gonna spend half the time there. But I kind of learned a lot in Tanzania, like about myself, about the world, kind of about my thoughts on a lot of things changed. One time it was during Ramadan, and it's like a holy month for Muslims who choose to fast during the month of Ramadan. And it was like at the end of you stop fasting at 6:30 there. In England, it's a bit later. And I saw some kids playing football, and I kind of used to take pocket money from my dad and just save it for when I get back to England so I could buy shoes. And had quite a bit of money. And then see about 10 kids playing, and I was with my cousin, and then I just went over to them, and I was just like, I kind of like said like, I'll buy you a drink because you look like you've been careful for long. And then they was just all like very grateful. Like came over. My cousin quickly went to go talk to one of the aunties, and was at like the little shop stall bit, and I was buying like them all the drinks. I was like, oh, like Fanta, Coke, Sprite, etc. Like in the glass bottles, so it tastes even better.
Oh, that tastes
Uh,
different.
and then yeah, the kids like were not taking a drink when like the shopkeeper opened the bottle and like tried to give it to them, and they were just all looking at me like no. And then my cousin came back like a moment later, and like he just basically explained to me that the shopkeeper like tried to inflate the prices because he knew that I was a Westerner, just like off of complexion, what I was wearing, etc. And then yeah, and then ended up paying like the normal price, and the kids like had the drink every day after that. I think I was there for 2, 3 weeks, and then he just like came up to me, like spoke to me about just general things and stuff like that. And then I was just like, yeah, like one day I'm gonna do something a bit nicer. And then it was like this. It was at the start of this year, so like the year started very well, and I did like a fundraiser. Like
Mm.
my goal was £1,000 by like summertime before I meant to go to Tanzania, and I was going to spend the £1,000 on providing educational resources like books, pens, pencils, toys as well, things that can increase their educational experience, and maybe possibly school uniform as well, to a local primary school to next to my uncle's house, and also some stuff to a local orphanage. Yeah, I ended up raising. I told my friends if I raised £1,000, I'd cut off my hair as well because I thought by someone no one would see me. And my friends, I ended up getting it in like 36 hours, 24 hours in between that
That's
bracket,
crazy.
which was great. But I used to
Wow.
have long curly hair, and now I've got short hair. But
You were like, oh my God, I did not think it was gonna go this quick.
yeah, it was worth it. And then like now, I think I've got £1,300 I raised, and then before I end up going, possibly in Christmas time. It depends on this coronavirus stuff. But if not, I want to spend my birthday week there and go for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. So I've got 1,300, and I'm going to top up to make it 1,500, and then spend 500 on the orphanage and 1,000 on a local primary school. I kind of got an Excel spreadsheet full of like the basics. When I go out there, if I choose to buy the stuff out there just because of carrying it all, I can carry some stuff, but we need to spend more. Kind of got an Excel spreadsheet of like cost and what I think I'll spend it on. Yeah, I'm very excited to kind of give back, because I don't think of this in terms of charity. I think of this more about investing back into my heritage and like local community in Tanzania. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that, and just visiting again. So hopefully in the next 3 to 4 months, kind of I go out there
Fingers
and do that.
crossed. My
Yeah,
fingers are crossed for you.
thank you.
Genuinely, you're trying to do such good things, so I'm just hoping that this pandemic doesn't fully, mess up your plans.
I hope so. Thank you.
So I kind of want to chat about the current climate and what's going on. I know there's been a lot of traction, and the kind of whole conversation about Black Lives Matter has really blown up in the last like 4 or 5 months, especially, kind of started around the beginning of June with the death of George Floyd, RIP. And I'm just interested to see kind of what your thoughts on that are, just as a mixed race individual. How are you feeling about the state of the world? That's quite a big question, but I think it's important to talk about.
Um, the world, yeah, the world is so crazy. But in terms of the Black Lives Matter movement, it was very warming seeing a lot of people come together and a lot of unity occur. But I often question like myself, like what was people's values and day to day kind of beliefs, actions, thoughts prior, which is quite interesting, because people in America have been suffering via the 13th Amendment, which is like a piece of legislation that states that slavery is okay as long as it's in terms of criminals. So any type of crime you commit, you can you're essentially a slave to the system. And when you think about like the law and order and the three strikes and you're out kind of legislation that has been going on in America over the last 20 years, you think about who's negatively affected. You know that like a lot of young black people are negatively affected. And then also there's been numerous people killed in cold blood over the last decade or so, and we kind of just see it more now because of social media. But it's been going on. But I'm happy that people finally come to their senses and are educating themselves. But as well as all of that noise that initially came, that I feel like was needed, I'm kind of like thinking now, like, okay, like what's the next 2 to 5 years? Like, what's the action plan? What's actually going to happen? And it's great to see people like Stormzy, the BBC, matching Stormzy's 10 million that he said he's going to invest into the black community over the next 10 years. Because there's a great short video. It's on Netflix. I'm trying to remember the name, and it's basically a 20-minute video that explains the racial wealth gap in America, and it's so
What is
much.
that? I don't know what that is.
It's called Explained, actually. It's called Explained. Ironically, the racial wealth gap, and it just puts things into perspective how backwards a lot of the world is, but it focuses on America, but it can be applicable elsewhere as well. Like in the
Mm.
UK, 50% of Black Africans live in relative poverty in comparison to 20% of white people. So if you're Black African, you're 2.5 times more likely to live in relative poverty. So I feel like the economic inequalities is very important. But sorry, just going back to the point about George Floyd, I think of George Floyd as a catalyst for change, but I also question why a lot of organizations, businesses, and people were were so silent and okay with kind of the deaths of Black African Americans and working class people, Latino people in America for the last decade plus. Like it's been going on. Um,
Mm.
I'd
This is not a
rather,
new thing. It's not new.
yeah, like how was you educating yourself before? And yeah, just that question of why people were so okay with it happening and the different inequalities that we go through. I know that it's a very touchy subject, but at the same time, this shouldn't be a touchy subject because this is a lot of people's lived reality and their everyday life. And this is what a lot of people in America, in the UK, and worldwide have to go through with police brutality, and it's even evident in Nigeria with the NSARS protests that have been going on. There needs to be a conversation about police and police brutality because it's worldwide, and despite it being very, very disproportionate in places like America and the UK, in nations in Africa where it's a heavily black population and doing it to their own people. So I think it's that abusement of power and how power can corrupt people's minds. But yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm an optimistic person. So going forward, I'm optimistic that the future, we may see more equality and at a faster rate than prior, which is always good going forward. And hopefully, if we'll see with the American election, but if Biden wins, we'll see. Hopefully,
I've been tentatively watching my screen all day, getting the alerts about. I'm kind of scared.
But yeah, I always think I'm also scared, but I also think slow progress is better than no progress.
Absolutely.
And the direction we're going in is better than where it's been at in the past. So hopefully we just keep up the momentum and people incorporate into their everyday lives and call out prejudice, call out unconscious bias, because many, many, many people have it, and it's through things like socialization, the media. Like let's really change the narrative, and our generation, we're gonna be the ones.
We're en route. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Hopefully, I'm hoping too that we can be the ones to kind of really make some proper institutional change for the better. And at the age when we have children or decide to have children, the world is just a significantly better place than it is now. Fingers crossed, because honestly, I don't think I'd want to raise children in this current climate. Yeah. Well, it's actually been so nice to talk to you. We're coming up to run out of time, which is a shame. But yeah, this has been great, and it's been lovely to hear your opinions and about your life and all your accolades. So any closing remarks? Anything you want to plug? Potentially a blog?
Yeah, I have a blog in my LinkedIn bio. If you want to go on the page, Marley Ahmed. Possibly in the next year or so, just keep an eye out. I might have a website for my mentoring project or Instagram page, just something to kind of get content out. But yeah, just last kind of remarks is just like, as well as tweet and put things on social media, just let's all make sure that we incorporate the change we want to see in our everyday lives and call people out when needed, and just do what we say and continue to educate ourselves.
100%. Well, for anyone that didn't get that, Marley's blog is called Let's Talk Society. Find that via Google. And yeah, it's been great. Thank you, Marley, for coming on and talking to me today.
Thank you.